Hello and welcome to our interview today for our history assignment that we're working on. Today we're going to talk to Gwen, and Gwen's going to tell us a little bit about her life, in especially her childhood, and all the things that she used to do around the house when she was younger. So Gwen, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your childhood?
Hello, my name's Gwen. I was born in 1951, so I'm now 65 years old. I lived on a farm from the age of 3 until 9 years old with my mother, father, older sister and brother. My father worked for a man who owned the farm but did all the work on the farm, and we had to help milk cows, help Mum with washing and getting wood and all sorts of things to keep the house running.
And what are some of your earliest childhood memories, Gwen?
I remember having to go to town in a truck. We only ever went to town once a week. My father bought his first car in 1956. I was 5 years old and we got a brand new car. It's the first car my father ever owned. I remember my grandmother bought a house in town when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and my memory of the best memory I've got of Grandma living in town was going to the toilet, which was in the bathroom, and we pulled a chain to flush the toilet because the toilet on the farm was down the paddock and it was a hole in the ground.
Wow. So are there any jobs that you would do to help out around the house on the farm?
We had no electricity on the farm, so we would have to gather wood to put in the kitchen so Mum could build a fire in the side of a stove, and the fire would heat the top of the stove and an oven. We had to keep that wood box full so Mum could keep the stove going so she could cook all our meals. And we also had a laundry which was not attached to the house. It was probably across the road, and my mother once again had to have a fire under a big copper, which was a great big bowl full of water and soap. She used to boil the clothes and then had a great big long stick to get the clothes out of there and into some cold water. Then it had to be wrung out through 2 big rollers and with a handle on it, and we used to wind that handle to get the water out of the clothes so she could hang them on the line. My parents used to milk cows twice a day, and we would help, especially in the afternoon. In the mornings we were usually getting ready for school. We would help milk those cows. Some cows were easy to milk and we were allowed to help. Some cows were very difficult, and when they got into the bales they would kick, and they would kick over the buckets of milk, so they had to have their legs tied to a post so they didn't kick. We had to then of an afternoon clean those bales, hose them all out. Some of the milk went to the factory here in Lismore at Norco. Some of it was fed to the pigs, and we used to help Dad feed the pigs, and little potty calves used to get some milk as well.
And what other things would you do to help out your parents?
Well, because my parents didn't have a car, we used to have to walk to school. We didn't have a uniform to wear to school, and we often went to school with no shoes on our feet. It was about 3 kilometres to school. We used to collect another 3 children along the way and walk along and get into mischief, of course, along the way, as kids do. We didn't have any television or anything on the farm, so we used to just enjoy doing all the jobs we did to help Mum and Dad out.
And Gwen, would you say it's easier or harder for kids to help around the house these days? And can you give me a reason why for your answer?
Well, kids these days don't have jobs to do because you don't have to wash up anymore and wipe up the dishes. They go in the dishwasher. You don't have to wring the clothes because all the washing machines these days just have a button that you push. In those days we communicated better because we had to talk to one another. We didn't have a television and we all sat glaring at a TV set and saying, "Be quiet, I want to listen to this." So in that way it was easier with communication. These days it's easier for kids to communicate because they've got a telephone. We didn't have a telephone, so we could talk to one another, but if we wanted to talk to our neighbours or anybody, we had to wait till we saw them.
And what do you think is the biggest difference between your childhood and the lives of children nowadays?
Well, children these days have got a lot of automated equipment like computers, mobile phones, like I said, dishwashers, television. We had everything. Everything we did mainly was manual. There were no push button things in my day. So I guess that is the biggest difference. Our parents now drive their kids to school. We had to walk. We didn't have a bus to pick us up. My sister used to ride a horse when she went to high school. She caught a bus to town because it was a long way. But these days parents would be able to drive kids and pick them up.
Great. Thank you very much for your time, Gwen. Appreciate your thoughts, and I hope the kids got a lot out of that. Thank you very much.